Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Monday. I hope the week is starting well wherever you are watching or listening to this around the world. As always, thank you very much for joining me on what is the first day of the final international break of 2025. It's going to feel like a pretty long 2 weeks, I think, this one, especially going into it on the back of a draw where there's that sort of sense of tinge of regret of not seeing that game out against Sunderland and getting all 3 points in that game. But having said all that, I think this is quite a good time now to sort of take a little bit of a step back and assess where Arsenal are, what they've done in the last few weeks and what could be to come as we head towards Christmas. So I felt the first day of the final international break of the season is a good opportunity to do that. So I'm going to take a little bit of a look back right now at the last few weeks. I think it's a really good opportunity to do that. I mean, everyone's had their say, everyone's had their opinion after what happened at Sunderland, the draw, the way it happened, the late goal, Arsenal losing 2 points in pretty horrible fashion. It's never nice. It's never a nice feeling, is it? It's always that sort of sense of regret about what happened or what could have been. And everyone's had their say, which is fine. Everyone's got the right to their opinion. I had my say in it, my show that I did yesterday, and I just feel this is a good opportunity now to sort of really put a little bit of perspective on where Arsenal are, what they've done, and how things are shaping up as we head towards, what's going to be a really, really busy time of the season. Before we do that, I think it's quite probably important that we touch on what happened yesterday, because it's going to kind of impacts, obviously, how things are standing. So it was a big game yesterday, obviously, Liverpool versus Manchester City at the Etihad. I think we all probably sat down and were hoping maybe this would be a draw, but it was pretty apparent pretty quickly that it wasn't going to be a draw and that Liverpool were comfortably going to be second best. And that's what happened. Manchester City cruising really to a 3-0 win. I think they were certainly helped by the referee in this game. I think it's a joke that Van Dijk's header got ruled out. I really do. I just don't see how that can possibly be offside. Yes, Andy Robertson's standing in an offside position, but he does have absolutely no impact on that play whatsoever. Donnarumma sees every inch of Van Dijk's header. He dives at full stretch to try and save it. He is not impacted by Andy Robertson at all. It doesn't, Andy Robertson, he ducks, but it doesn't even go straight over his head. It's never offside, in my opinion. I'm sure those at PGMOL will make up some sort of wording or rules to say that it was the correct decision, but in my mind it wasn't. But despite all of that, even if decisions did go against Liverpool a little bit in that game yesterday, Man City were miles better than them. Absolutely comfortable winners, deserving winners. And this is how the league table now looks going into the international break. Obviously, Arsenal sitting pretty at the top of the table. Man City definitely emerging now. I think we thought it before the Liverpool game, but I think we're probably definitely thinking it now, emerging as what you would say are probably the biggest contenders for the title aside from Arsenal this season. This is a situation we've been in before. We know exactly what it's like to be in a title race with Manchester City. I'm not ruling anyone else out. Liverpool, they're 8 points behind Arsenal. They're in a tough spot right now, but there's a quality side with quality players. They're the champions. We can't forget that. So you can't rule them out at this stage, even if the gap is pretty big, but we are only 11 games in. I'm not sure about Chelsea. I'm not sure if I can consider Chelsea in a title race. Maybe that will change when Arsenal go to Chelsea in a couple of weeks, depending on the result. But I still look at Chelsea as a side who will probably drop points at quite a regular stage this season, just because of their age and their maybe immaturity. Very good team, talented team, as you would expect. But I still feel, it's definitely looking like City are going to be Arsenal's main contenders, mainly due to that man on screen. If you're watching on YouTube, Erling Haaland, if he stays fit, then City are going to be there or thereabouts. If Erling Haaland gets injured, then I think City are going to absolutely struggle to maintain the pace with Arsenal. So that's how things look at the moment. I just wanted to really, as I said at the start, I think everyone's had a say. I do feel like some of the post-mortem after Sunderland has been a little bit extreme. Because it was a tough game. It was a game Arsenal should have won. They'd put themselves in a position to win. So I get there is that sense of frustration of, we let this one slip through our fingers. And it was an entirely avoidable goal. And I think when you're Arsenal at the moment, I think our senses and our emotions are so heightened by the near misses we've had in recent years. And we're obviously in a good position again this season, looking good. And I think every single drop point is going to be poured over and put under a microscope, not just by pundits and rival fans, but by us, ourselves, Arsenal fans, because of how much we want it, how close we've been in the past, how we've seen it, just sort of slip away from us in the past. And no one wants to see that happen again. Everyone feels this team needs to win, is good enough to win, and we all want to see that this season. So I think any sort of drop points, even against a decent team away from home, which Sunderland clearly are this season, there's going to be an awful lot of scrutiny on it, as we've seen since that full-time whistle went on Saturday. But when you look at what Arsenal have done between the two international breaks, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the results. I've got them on screen here. It's been a really superb run that Arsenal have been on. Superb. 7 games, 6 wins in a row, and then the draw at Sunderland. Only goals they've conceded were those 2 at Sunderland. I think they've conceded 5 shots on target in the Premier League during that run. It's been an absolutely fantastic run. And I think we do need to remember that, even in the sort of aftermath and the scrutiny that has followed the game at the Stadium of Light at the weekend. You cannot win every single game. It's just impossible. It is never going to happen. There are going to be ups and downs in a season. Arsenal are going to lose games between now and the end of the season. I have no doubt. I do not see. I think this league is going to be so competitive that I do not see Arsenal or Manchester City not losing games. Everyone now is sort of focusing on Manchester City. I've seen all the stuff. I watched Match of the Day 2 last night, and you had Rooney on there saying, I've seen it with Carragher as well today. Arsenal are going to be really nervous about Manchester City. They're looking great. They've been in that title race before. You only have to go back 2 games when Man City lost to Aston Villa in the Premier League. People are going to drop points. Arsenal are not going to go through every game winning. There are going to be draws. There are going to be defeats. And it's about how you respond to those. Can you respond quickly and make sure you bounce back in a brilliant way? And Arsenal have got a wonderful opportunity to do that in a massive game after the international break. Or are you going to let it really affect you, like we've seen with Liverpool, and suddenly you're on a losing streak and basically your season can start to unravel like that? That is how titles are going to be decided. And one, it's about how you react to difficult moments. And Arsenal had not even a massively difficult moment, just a frustrating moment against Sunderland, because they did, that's why I was my frustration at the weekend stemmed more from the fact, not just it was drop points, but it stemmed more from the fact that I knew how big that win would have been if they'd have held out and won that, come back from behind at 1-0 down, having a difficult afternoon, to come back and win that 2-1. I think it would have been massive for the sort of psychologically and everything. That's where the main bit of my frustration came from. But on the whole, it's been a brilliant run. You just have to look at those results. And I think this is really important as well. I've got the league tables here on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. And these are the 2 league tables. From the one at the top is a league table at the end of the previous international, going into the previous international break. And the one at the bottom is where we are now. And you just look at that and how that table has changed. And again, it just reminds you of how good Arsenal have been during this period that we've just had. They went into the previous international break top of the table like they are now, but they went into it with a 1-point lead over Liverpool. They now have an 8-point lead over Liverpool. They went into that previous international break with a 2-point lead over Spurs. They now have a 8-point lead over Spurs as well. They went into it 3 points ahead of Man City. They now have a 4-point lead over Manchester City. They went into it 5 points ahead of Chelsea. They now have 6-point lead over Chelsea. So they've extended their advantage. They've maintained their position at the top of the table. They've extended their advantage at the top of the table. They have a 4-point lead over anyone, their closest rivals in the Premier League. So again, and I'm not telling anyone how they should be feeling about their football club or how they should feel after a defeat, but I just think I think our Arsenal fans, us, we're going to have a big part to play this season. I think we have to know that there's going to be some difficult moments. And I just think, as much as we're all so emotionally invested in this because we all want it so much because of how close we've been, I think it's really, really important that we understand that we do have a massive role to play, and not to get too almost detached from reality at times because we want this so much, and just take a step back and have some perspective on how good this team are, how good a run that they've been on, what they've been doing. We've been sitting in waxing Liverpool about record after record tumbling. It's not going to be able to continue that forever and ever and ever. There's going to be different moments, and we saw that at Sunderland. So I just think those league tables, especially that you're looking at on screen, a really good indicator of just how special the run that Arsenal have been on. I've got a few comments from you guys now getting in touch, kind of on this theme as well, that I wanted to share. So we've got Slightly Strange John here on the Discord. Says, after the West Ham game, I posted the below, and you said to remind you of it once the games had been played, which has now happened. So here it is with the results added in brackets. You seemed surprised at the time that I was only giving Liverpool 5 points from 12. It seems they were worse than I thought, as they only added 3. I wasn't far off overall. I got 2 right and 2 within 2 points. Spuds are so bad they let me down, and Palace crumbled too. So yeah, you can see there, that was John's prediction that after the West Ham game, which was the game immediately before the previous international break. Got it spot on with Arsenal. You said 10 points from their games, taking them to 26. Spurs, you obviously predicted would get 4 more points than they did. City, you predicted would get 1 more point than they did. Palace, as you said, 4 points less. Liverpool, 2 points less than you predicted. And Bournemouth, you got spot on as well. So you're right. Fair play, John. Good predictions, man. So yeah, interesting to see what you predict for the next run of fixtures, because there's some difficult ones coming up, certainly from an Arsenal point of view. Femi has got in touch and says, I'm so surprised at the panic some Arsenal fans are showing. Almost like Arsenal must not drop any points. Everyone will still drop points, including City. Here are a few things to contextualise after 11 games. Only 3 points separate 4th from 12th. In the table, we are 4 points ahead of City. City at 2nd are only 4 points ahead of Bournemouth in 9th. So it's congested. My point is many teams will take points off each other. Whoever does it best wins the league. With our attackers returning after the break, we are more than ready. So relax, Arsenal fans. No panic. Keep up the good work, Charles. Thank you very much, Femi. I think that's a good point. I haven't even mentioned that as well. And it's a massive thing to mention. The attackers. Arsenal have done this, gone on this run that we've just witnessed and enjoyed. They've done it all, missing so many crucial players. And hopefully, fingers crossed, at least some of those will be back after international break. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. It's another really important bit of context I think you have to put into it. And if you just had another 3 or 4 of those attackers available against Sunderland, I'm absolutely convinced Arsenal don't drop those points in the manner that he did at the weekend. So thank you very much, Femi, for that. Again, when you say you're surprised at the panic, I do think it all comes back to just how emotionally invested we all are in trying to win this title this season, because we know it's a massive opportunity and we've been so close before. And I think, yeah, as I said, I just think every single drop point is going to feel like a bit of a dagger at the moment, because you just don't want anything to go wrong this season. We're desperate to get over the line. Nate has got in touch here from New York. Says, after the run we've just had, a game like this was bound to happen. The microscope and focus on the records we were setting and possibly about to break may have been somewhat of a distraction and a bit of a burden. Dropping 2 points sucks at the weekend, but we didn't lose. A game like this can allow a team to recenter and start fresh. The guys will be pissed that they let the game slip through their fingers. I have a feeling we'll bounce back with a new and reinvigorated mindset. Can't forget, we have half a starting 11, all attackers about to return in a few weeks, ready to get back on the pitch and rejuvenate us. Come on, you Gunners, absolutely. And again, I'll go back to that game we've got immediately after international break, the North London derby at the Emirates. What a way to come back. If you want to bounce back and get back on track after a disappointing result, which it was, there's no better game to do that. It's going to be tough, no doubt about that. I'd almost rather be playing Spurs at the moment, because there's such a shambles there and they're very good away from home. So it's probably going to be tougher than the fact it is at the Emirates. But even so, if we can get that result against Tottenham, that's going to be a perfect springboard, especially with a game against Chelsea to come soon after. One from Jason on the Discord. It says, hey, Charles, just wanted to remind everyone to keep it all in perspective. While it would have been a perfect to win on Saturday, many of the other big clubs in Champions League dropped points this weekend, including Munich and Real Madrid. PSG need a 95th minute win or two. It's a long season. We're still 4 points clear. That, despite the difficulty of our opening fixtures and with 6 attackers currently injured. In my opinion, it's been a fantastic start to the season, exceeded expectations, and I'm proud of the boys. I mean, I think I feel exactly like you there, Jason. When you said it's exceeded expectations, it absolutely has. I remember when the fixture list came out in the summer and I looked at it, and I was just, that's an absolute night. I think the video I did was Arsenal's fixture nightmare that day. That's what I headlined it as, because it just looked like a nightmare start, an absolute nightmare start. And to have come through that run, to be now going into, seeing out the final international break with a 4-point lead at the top of the table, I absolutely exceeded my expectations. And that's a great thing to say, I have to say. So, yeah, I just felt like it was important to share your comments to give my opinions. I know not everyone's going to agree. I know some other people are going to be really disappointed and worried at the drop points against Sunderland. I get that, but I just felt like I wanted to share anyway, sort of how I'm viewing things right now. And I took a step back as well after the full-time whistle went, and at Sunderland, I could see people were annoyed and frustrated. See it in the comments, I see it on the Discord and stuff like that. And I sort of deliberately distanced myself a little bit for 24 hours or so, because I've said it before on this channel. I'm determined to. I know how important this season is for everyone, and I know how passionate it is going to bring. And sometimes that passion is going to come out in a different way that I want to sort of view things in this season. I'm determined to enjoy this season the way that I want to enjoy it, because I think it's going to be a special season. I think it could be a special season. So I sort of took a bit of a step back for 24 hours or so, just to let everyone have their say, to vent their frustration if they wanted to do that. But I just wanted to. In my mind, I think I was a little bit more calm about that result than other people were. And I get not everyone can see things the same way, and everyone's going to see things differently, and that's totally understandable as well. So thank you everyone for sharing your views on that. Right, let's move on to some injuries now, shall we? Which I just think is also going to be a really important thing. I don't think we're going to hear too much from Arsenal. Oh, in fact, I don't think we're going to hear anything from Arsenal. We might get some updates from the national team managers and from doctors. We get that from time to time, and especially when it comes to Martin Odegaard and Norway, it tends to filter out. Although I have a feeling that Arsenal have told Norway not to say anything this time, because Solbakken has given a few interviews recently. The doctor, who's always very, very talkative during their Norway international camps as well. The comments I've seen from them of late are very much like, it's up to Arsenal. We don't know yet. So I do wonder if Arsenal said, look, can you just not shed any light, any sort of update on Martin Odegaard, please? But we might get something. We'll see if what they say, what Graham Potter says about Victor Gyökeres potentially and things like that. But this is going to be a really important 2 weeks now for Arsenal, with these players out, with Madueke coming back, Havertz coming back, Jesus getting closer and closer as well. We could just be in such a better position come the Spurs game. It's going to be a really important 2 weeks. As I said, if nothing comes out from the national teams, I don't think Arsenal are going to, there's not going to be any updates from them on these players. The hope is that just once they're back from the national team, people can join in. I don't think everyone's going to be back, but if just some of these boys can be back, imagine the boost. The international boys have been away on international duty. They come back and then they all get back in. Probably the first session is going to be Thursday before the Spurs game. Imagine getting into Colney, going into the changing room, looking to your left, and there's Martin Odegaard getting changed, getting ready to head out to the training ground, training pitches. There's Martinelli, there's Gyökeres, there's Kai Havertz, there's Noni Madueke. Just imagine the lift that will give everyone. They've all worked so hard to put Arsenal in this position during the last 2 months or so, with so many key attacking players injured. We'll be delighted. Fans will be delighted. But imagine the players seeing that and just the sigh of relief of, the captain's back. We've got more options on the left-hand side. We can bring Madueke, and Kai Havertz is back, a player who all the players absolutely love and love playing with. Seeing him back, being able to share the minutes with Victor Gyökeres, just the boost it will give them. I think it's going to be a really important couple of weeks, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see what Mikel says when he does come back after the international break for that first press conference. It's going to be really, really important. I had a question from Sid here on injuries. He says, I wanted to discuss the injury situation. The number of players picking up injuries this season seems to be a bit of a pattern, which is a bit concerning. Do you think it's just down to bad luck, or could there be other contributing factors, such as training intensity or certain medical parameters being missed? I'm not questioning anyone's competence, but it does feel like a recurring trend. It would be great to see comparative data on the verses with the other 6 sides. What are your thoughts? I think injuries are certainly not, this isn't just an Arsenal thing. I was looking at how some of the teams are sort of standing at the moment. Arsenal have got 6 players out technically at the moment with injuries, I believe, which is Jesus, Odegaard, Havertz, Martinelli, Gyökeres, Madueke. Am I missing someone there? I feel like I might be missing someone. I'm sure you can remind me if I am. But then you just sort of look, Chelsea, I think, have got 7 players out at the moment. They've got Colwill, Palmer, obviously. There's others as well. Mudryk, Neto, Lavia got injured as well. They've got 7. I think Spurs have got 10 at the moment. Newcastle have got 7. So it's not an Arsenal thing. It's a thing across the league. I think at the moment, City are looking pretty solid. I think City are only missing 1 player at the moment, Kovacic. I think pretty much, Rodri's obviously sort of treading a fine line at the moment about whether he's injured or not and how much they can use him. But other than that, City looking pretty good, which probably You can point to the more improved form that they've had of late and say, well, they've got pretty much a full squad to choose from at the moment, and very, very strong, and can rotate things in better, in sort of make themselves stronger and things like that. And Arsenal at the moment have been really, really struggling to be able to do that. So I don't know. We always point, don't we, that, could you do something different? Could the medical staff do something different? All I know is that Arsenal works so hard on trying to prevent injuries, and then lots of detailed analysis goes into it. Sometimes you have a bit of bad luck. I think 4 of the injuries Arsenal have had are knee injuries. I mean, some of those, it's so hard. I watched the Odegaard one. You can't train for that. You can't counter that. That was just an absolute freak accident. Madueke and Havertz, just like nothing happened. Then suddenly they're out for months as well. So they will be looking at everything to make sure that they can do things differently and have players fit. It's all I can really sort of say on that. I wanted to talk now, but quickly had one from Bronwyn on Eze, who says, morning, Charles. Awesome podcast and YouTube videos as always. Thank you. So can I just address something? In my opinion, Eze should turn his playing style up a bit. He looks sometimes like he is lost, especially when we lose possession. When he has possession, it takes too long to pass the ball. We need to move the ball a lot quicker, especially in attacking areas. It's too lethargic and too lazy sometimes. Eze just needs to move the ball a bit quicker. What is your thoughts? I'm being harsh. I don't know. I've seen quite a few people seemingly quite underwhelmed at Eze's impact so far. I'm not at that stage. I don't think he's had as big as impact as probably we all would have hoped when he first signed. But I do think this, you've got to put context behind it as well. It's his new club. He's learning a completely different new way of playing. Obviously, he's also playing in as much as when he signed, we were like, I hope he gets some freedom to play in the central areas. It's not actually his position. At Crystal Palace, where he was so good, he was playing off the left-hand side of that front three. You had Mateta in the central area, Eze was on the left, and you had Sarr on the right. And Eze would drift into the central areas, but he was also on the left an awful lot of times. And we've not really seen him playing there yet. And he's been given the task of trying to replace Odegaard and playing more on the right side, closer to Bukayo Saka than he does on the left-hand side. So it is a different job for him. I think his pressing has been very good. I thought his pressing was good against Sunderland as well. And I thought when Arsenal had their best, that really, really good spell at Sunderland, I thought Eze was really heavily involved in that, did a lot of really good things. He's obviously got a couple of goals, got a really important goal against Crystal Palace. I definitely would like to see him improve. And I think he'll say that himself and become more of an influence on games. But I'd be really intrigued in terms of how we're going to see Eze when Odegaard's back, because we just haven't seen it yet. When Odegaard comes back, Odegaard is getting back in that team, in that position that Eze's currently playing. So what's Eze going to do then? Where's he going to play? What's Mikel's plan for giving him minutes? Is he going to play on the left-hand side? It's quite hard because Trossard's playing so well at the moment, but is that where we're going to see him? That's where we saw him initially when Odegaard was fit. Eze played on the left-hand side. That is his best position, or the position that we've grown up in the last few years watching him play for Crystal Palace. So I think that there's lots of context put into Eze's start. And I think until Odegaard comes back and we really see what Mikel's plan is for him, then it's quite hard to really give a proper assessment. But look, I was so excited. You'll know I was so excited that Eze signed and I wanted him. And I think he's been fine. I don't think he's been anything more than that yet, but I think he will be more than that. And I'm really interested to see where he plays when Martin Odegaard does come back. And look, that is it for me. I've actually got rattled on a bit longer than usual, so apologies for that. But yeah, there was things I wanted to kind of get off my chest in today's show, and I do feel like it's quite important that we do have a little bit of perspective about things. So try to get that across in the way that I often try to do. So anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. If you're still watching, if you're still listening, you've probably switched off by now, but if you are, thank you very much. I'll be back in the morning to do it all over again. We've got Inside Arsenal Extra Time coming tomorrow as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Until then, speak to you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.